The world's gone plastic surgery crazy.
I've had 17 breast operations.
Cheek implants.
I ended up in the Guinness Book of World Records.
How ridiculous.
Wow.
Some have gone crazier than others. Greatest Plastic Surgery Shockers counts down the craziest of them all.
Designer vagina.
Join us as we embark on an hour-long journey into a silicone-filled,
They are just enormous.
collagen-pumped,
I was astonished that Marilyn Monroe had surgery. Really?
plastic fantastic world. Full of eye-popping, jaw-dropping, and heart-stopping stories.
Death by bum implants, how bad is that? 98% of what I've done has gone wrong.
Plastic surgeons to the stars reveal celebrity surgery secrets.
Body lifts, thigh lifts, arm lifts, anything that ends in lift.
And we trace the changing faces of our excessive surgery stalwarts.
His face is so wrong.
As we count down to the most shocking surgery victim of all time.
Oh my God.
Where better to start than the fickle world of fashion? She's brash, she's outspoken, she's the original supermodel. And those lips are real, honest.
She looks great. She looks great. I think her look totally works. It's definitely plastic, but it works for her.
Bit crazy, but the woman looks good. I think people do actually forget that Janice Dickinson was the original supermodel, and she's had more covers in Vogue and all the magazines than anyone else. She actually was a beautiful young woman.
She claims that she was the first natural bee-stung model.
Really? Seriously, they're real?
In this photograph,
with her mouth wide open, it's tough to appreciate if her lips have been plumped or filled with any fillers or not, but it is possible. You know, most of them do have their lips augmented to keep that full-looking appearance. She can deny it, but I would disagree.
I don't think she's trying to look younger so much. I think what she's trying to do is like I do, just try to look good for your age.
I feel like Janice Dickinson will always, in her own way, be the world's first supermodel and look glamorous and gorgeous. I think she'll just be a lot more plastic in the future.
Next up, bunny breeder Annette Edwards, who took her love of rabbits to extremes.
Annette Edwards is a woman from Worcester, okay? That's pretty unremarkable in itself. But the thing that really stands her out from the bunch is that she has spent the last 6 months transforming herself from a dowdy rabbit breeder into Jessica Rabbit incarnate.
Ah! You're like, shit. You've got an amazing body, but you've borrowed the face of Freddy Krueger.
I reckon 3 guesses you'd guess what she was going for, but still not good enough, because, like, she hasn't got the body for it, no offense. Well, probably offense.
You'd hope that you've made your peace with life by then and gone, doesn't matter what I look like, I'm a really good person that's gonna look like Jessica Rabbit.
When I first seen the film with Jessica striding out on the stage, and I just thought, wow, she looks fantastic, although she's a cartoon. What a sexy cartoon, and how fab to look like that.
Jessica Rabbit was voiced by Kathleen Turner. Her voice oozed sexuality, okay? Annette Edwards' voice just oozes.
I've had cheek implants here, which I can't go in the sun and sunbathe because they would melt. I've had a chin implant, half a facelift, lots of Botox, boob uplift, but then again, after 10 kids, perhaps even if it hadn't been for Jessica, that needed to be done anyway. I'm a lot older than Jessica, but probably for my age, it's probably not a bad resemblance.
In at number 23, who'd have guessed our next entry was made using plasticine and a can of spray paint? It's David Gest.
It's like fondue in a bowl being put on a face.
His face is so wrong.
It's bizarre.
David Gest. Yeah, he looks like his face is a massive candle and it's melting.
It just looks weird. He's had so much stuff done. He's almost disabled by his plastic surgery. He talks like that and the mouth doesn't move.
You know when you're walking down the road and you find a dead baby bird that's fallen out of the nest and it's all belly and eyeballs? That's David Gest. He's famous for
marrying Liza Minnelli and being friends with Michael Jackson.
But I think most people recognise him as the freak that came out of the jungle who sprays his hair black and has those weird little eyes.
Up next, surgery denier Nicole Kidman. When she won her Oscar, did she look shocked, delighted, surprised, or even horrified? To be honest, it was difficult to tell.
Nicole Kidman first emerged as some freakishly tall, freckled geek girl out of Australia.
I remember her from BMX Bandits growing up in Australia, and she had this froth of red hair and this lovely sort of fat, freckly face, you know, and she's gorgeous.
Did you say I looked a bit like Nicole?
In Eyes Wide Shut, Nicole Kidman would have given an ironing board a run for its money in terms of flatness. And then you look at pictures of her now, and she's got these weird kind of little, I don't know, little, like, snooker balls attached to her.
So when Nicole Kidman split up with Tom Cruise, I think then she definitely changed her image. She went for a more elegant look.
There was talk of Botox, there was talk of Botox filler injections. She started to look very different.
What's so interesting to me about Nicole Kidman is why she felt the need to actually go on the record and say she's never had anything done.
I would be very surprised if somewhere along the line there hasn't been some Botox injected around here. The forehead seems massively long. I would imagine a lot of Botox has been injected here. It eradicates the crow's feet, but it doesn't bring volume and youthful proportions into the face, because it makes the face almost square, which is not nice.
In the film Australia recently, that she was in, where I noticed it the most, she was upset, and I'm very upset.
When she was expressing sadness, joy, rage, sorrow, passion, it was the same face. And there were actually many film critics who wrote at the time that Botox destroyed that performance.
Speeding us up our chart, and in at 21, it's rap star Lil Kim. You're looking a bit peaky, love. You should get out in the sun more.
Lil Kim, as she likes to be known, I'm not sure if that's what's on her birth certificate, is a US sort of rapper, actress, media mogul, etc. She's got her finger in a lot of pies. One of the other pies that she's got her finger in is the surgery pie.
You don't suddenly wake up one morning and your nose becomes, narrower, more defined, and with more fullness in the bridge. That is purely as a result of surgery. You can see the nose, the width is much wider in this previous older picture of hers. Here in this more recent picture, you can see she's acquired some definition in the tip, and generally speaking, the nose is not quite as wide as it was before.
She's gone from being someone who was notably darker to much lighter. And, the only person that I can think in the public eye who's definitely done that is Michael Jackson. And I don't think I'm exaggerating when I'm saying things didn't work out great for him, did they?
We've only just scratched the surface of the greatest plastic surgery shockers. All this is still to come.
What little girl wouldn't want to look like a Barbie doll?
She's just, a mess.
He used to be so handsome.
Back to our countdown, and taking us into the top 20, a Hollywood icon who so wanted to be loved by you, she changed her face.
She used to be called Norma Jean. She was this ordinary girl who worked in a factory, and now she comes to you as Marilyn Monroe.
I was astonished that Marilyn Monroe had surgery. I didn't even think it happened before, 1980.
Wow, that long ago.
What's happened is that in just this year, in 2010, a cosmetic surgeon in LA who took over from a practice that existed during World War II was literally going through old files and found a record demonstrating that Marilyn did indeed have a chin implant.
It was a different era. People didn't take pictures of you and endlessly analyze them and put them in the gossip columns and say, have they, haven't they, what have they had done? People didn't really have surgery then. It wasn't talked about.
And if it got out, you deny it. And there still is that element of that out there in Hollywood.
For sure, it was all hush-hush, and it was probably at the behest of the studios because they were all controlling then.
It gave her a beauty that was surreal. It's an undateable beauty.
Marilyn's magic was about this indefinable thing that we don't have a better name for than charisma, but some people have it and some people don't. And Marilyn had it in spades.
We kind of applaud Marilyn for being a pioneer of plastic surgery. Wow, who'd have thought it? I never knew.
You never know what face you're going to get next with Hollywood's favourite hellraiser, Courtney Love.
I wonder what Courtney Love looks like this week.
She's the Jekyll and Hyde of Hollywood.
1 minute she sort of looks just like death's door, and the next minute gorgeous.
Courtney Love first emerged in the late 80s, early 90s as part of the punk scene.
She lost her husband, went through a very public kind of widowing, if you like. She was kind of, thrust into the limelight. She's just, a mess.
Courtney Love was really not an attractive woman to start out with. She has had a tremendous number of plastic surgery treatments and enhancements in order to turn herself into a Gwyneth Paltrow.
She's a bit like a premiere. She's got incredible hair and face looks amazing. She's got a beautiful dress on. And then you see her 2 weeks later and it's just her hair's mental and her face is crazy.
The most recent reincarnation of Courtney Love is rather startling, and the reason it's so startling is that she actually looks amazing. She looks the best she's ever looked, but how long will this last?
Up next at number 18, it's Cindy Jackson. She's a nose-crunching, boob-pumping, lip-plumping, arse-sculpting, gym-filling, skin-stretching record breaker.
Cindy Jackson, fit.
Cindy Jackson is his grandmother, who is in the Guinness Book of Records. I'm very proud of having lots of plastic surgery.
I started having surgery back in 1988, and by 2000, I had had more surgery than anyone else admits to. The official total was 47 procedures. I ended up in the Guinness Book of World Records.
Cindy Jackson, I think she's got it right. She looks like a hottie.
If I was a man, I would have sex with Cindy Jackson.
I'd been an art student in America, and I came to England on an art student exchange program. So, funnily enough, I was acutely aware of everything that was wrong with my face and body because I'd studied drawing and sculpture. When I was redesigning my face and body, I was applying the rules of beauty that Leonardo da Vinci originally discovered and quantified beauty in terms of mathematical proportion.
What little girl wouldn't want to look like a Barbie doll? Although, admittedly, when you're 55, slightly weirder.
It still is a big part of my life because everywhere I go, people are asking me about it. I get emails every day. I see clients. I teach them how to go through a consultation, the questions to ask. I kind of make them into patients who know what to ask and know how to get what they're looking for, and usually they do.
Having had a bit of work done, the star of Working Girl is appearing in a real-life sequel. Never seems to be Working Girl. It's Melanie Griffith.
So Melanie Griffith, in the kind of 80s and 90s period, she was this kind of female blonde bombshell. She was taking Hollywood by storm. If you wanted a movie to be successful, you put Melanie Griffith in there.
Melanie Griffith, 9 to 5, working girl, teenage crush. Maybe even preteen crush.
Left to nature, Melanie Griffith could be one of the real older gems of Hollywood now, but, she looks more like a midget gem.
However, she doesn't seem to be willing to grow old gracefully.
We have so much Botox around the eyes that the cheek doesn't lift. The eyes look completely flat. We see these deep lines under the eyes here that are a sign of too much Botox. This is not done well.
So what if it's obvious? The more obvious, the better, as far as I'm concerned.
I saw Melanie Griffith do an interview years ago where she was talking about her campaign with Revlon, and the slogan was "Defy it" when it came to age. And she said, well, actually, that's not my slogan, defy it, it's fuck it. That's my slogan for age. And I think, actually, that's what Melanie Griffith has been saying for an awful long time.
After decades in the shadow of her rocker husband, she took gastric measures to steal the limelight. At 16, it's Sharon Osbourne.
Sharon Osbourne was actually quite legendary within the music industry before she became known as a TV personality. She was a manager of Black Sabbath. She was one of the few female managers in a very male-dominated world in the 70s.
She was 16 stone at one point, so I think it's at that stage she decided something needed to be done, so she had a gastric band fitted.
Well, Sharon Osbourne has been my patient for quite some time. I have performed multiple procedures, facelift, body lifts, tummy tucks, thigh lifts, arm lifts, anything that ends in lift. I'm going to tell you the secret to why she looks so good. If you divide the face up into thirds, she's pretty well proportioned, these thirds. The other thing is that she still has a lot of fullness in her face, and as we age, people lose fullness in their face. So that's what keeps her looking youthful. What I've done is just to enhance her already innate beauty by just repositioning things in the right place to maintain that natural, youthful look.
Through the years, you've seen her definitely benefit through the surgery that she's had. There's no doubt about that.
The thing is she going to go too far? Because you now start seeing more and more pictures of her looking tighter faced, and it's like, stop now.
We're only 15 away now from the big #1 slot. But who can it be?
One of them's chin is massive. It's like a fist been put on the bottom of his face.
Would I go out with a girl that had a dick on her forehead?
Cutting the labia! Oh!
Where were we? We're at number 15 with a sorry tale of an Argentinian supermodel whose quest for perfect Latino curves ended in tragedy.
There was an Argentinian supermodel called Solange Magnano, and she was beautiful. You would never think that she needed to have anything done at all. And because she lived in South America, they're not averse to plastic surgery over there. So she had bum implants.
In South America, as I understand it, smaller breasts and larger buttocks tend to be favoured, whereas in North America, larger breasts and smaller buttocks tend to be favoured.
It appears that as she had got into her 30s, the pressures on a model at that age to start looking a little bit younger than perhaps she was, she had started to do the odd cosmetic procedure, and she had travelled down to Buenos Aires to have what she believed to be a relatively simple in-out, a little injection to add a little bit more tone and firmness to her buttocks.
Unfortunately, whenever you put an implant or a substance into the body that's not naturally occurring, you can get problems.
She had injections of a substance known as PMMA into her buttocks, and hours later, in fact, admitted to hospital with breathing difficulties, and she died 2 days later of a pulmonary embolism.
Well, methylmethacrylate is bone cement. And why anybody would think to inject bone cement into somebody's buttocks, I really can't imagine.
Death by bum implants, how bad is that?
Next up, it's the woman who could run a training camp for wannabe footballers' girlfriends.
I don't think Alicia DeVal is famous for anything worth being famous for. Probably just falling out of clubs, having sex with other famous men.
Yeah, I did silly things. Flashed my boobs now and then after going to a nightclub, pulled a few footballers, but who doesn't do that on a night out? As a child, I used to have all the Barbie dolls, and I used to look at Barbie, I used to think, I want to look like her. I had this dark, frizzy hair and
flat-chested, very, very skinny, and I wanted to be this curvaceous, blonde, long hair, a different type of person to who I was. My relationship with plastic surgery is a love-hate relationship because I love plastic surgery, but then the results aren't always what I want them to be. I've had my toes shortened and straightened. I've had 17 breast operations, 4 nose jobs. I've had my lips done numerous times, I can't remember. I've had so many procedures done, over 100 procedures. I was diagnosed with body dysmorphia. I still have two minds whether it's an actual disease, whether it's just been made up, and whether it's just something that is in all of us, but maybe I'm a little bit more extreme. I would say 98% of what I've done has gone wrong. I wish I never started with surgery.
She's constantly said, okay, surgery's ruined my life, I'm not gonna have any more surgery. And she always has more surgery.
So that interview you saw was a few weeks ago. Since then, I've had more surgery. I had cheek implants replaced, my nose redone. Here I am, and I'm not having any more surgery, I promise. I know I keep saying that, but I'm really not.
In at number 13, it's quiz show host and former self-confessed alcoholic Anne Robinson. Any more Botox and she won't be able to do her trademark wink, with any luck.
Anne Robinson, she hates whales, and she has a really flat head.
Anne Robinson is an intelligent woman. Ginger, okay.
Surely going to be the first thing to change, really, if anything.
Anne Robinson, when she started getting really big on The Weakest Link, she just looked like a normal woman of her age who'd enjoyed herself with an excessive amount of alcohol.
What you've got with Anne Robinson is the makeup was doing a good enough job for Anne. She was fine, she didn't need anything else. But somewhere along her sorry little world, the stupid woman decided to get plastic surgery.
But she had to admit it because it was so obvious that it happened. You can't just sort of be like, hello, I'm Rob, and then like next time, like, I'm Rob, yep, nothing's happened, nothing's changed.
I would not like to go up against Anne Robinson on The Weakest Link. She'd have me crying and sobbing, and I'd probably like have to ring my mum, be like, Mum, Anne Robinson was horrible.
Well, she's a lot kinder to them now. I think she also feels a lot better about herself. And that's great. She gets her face done, makes peace with herself, and is like, can I get you a cup of tea? You are The Weakest Link, goodbye.
Up next, it's the lady they call Donatella. Why? Because she looks like one of the Teenage Mutant Turtles.
Donatella Versace's from the fashion house, Versace.
She just looks plain weird.
She does look a mess.
I don't think she's a very attractive or was ever a very attractive woman anyway.
It's such a shame because you would think maybe with that much money you might be able to buy something better than what she's got.
Donatella Versace apparently doesn't believe in keeping herself looking natural, which is fantastic news, because what she's achieved is she's ended up looking like Janice from the Muppets. Oh, it's a great look. I wanted to end up looking like Kermit the Frog, but I settled for Miss Piggy.
She has the body of a shoe. But it's like a 70s shoe. It's like that colour of nutty brown that's in fashion, so she's bang on trend.
If I stood beside her, she'd smell a turkey, because she's cooking. She's actually cooking. She radiates.
Something probably went wrong on her nose. Couldn't tell you what it was. She's got these funny speed bumps on the top of her nose. Her skin looks weathered and tight. Her lips are overpulled, overinflated.
What I know about her is less about fashion, more about her white, witchy hair, and the Leslie Ash. That's what she looks like now. Oh, I'm done to Versace.
At 11, it's a notorious adult star who was embarrassed by her vagina. Strange then that she was happy to show it to 620 men while she had sex with them on camera.
Designer vagina.
Designer vagina.
Designer vagina.
Designer vagina, designer vagina. It does, it really gets your lips moving, both sets.
Well, my name is Houston. I'm an adult porn star. I had a labiaplasty done,
So Houston had a labia... What did she do to it? Sorry.
A labiaplasty.
A labiaplasty? What, so it's a mould of them?
Let's say she cut off bits, excessive bits.
Cut off? Cutting the labia? Oh!
I retired in 2003, and before then I was in the industry for 10 years and was a contract girl my entire career, so I had a certain number of films that I had to do annually. I went on to do the world's biggest gangbang. I did the Houston 500/620, where I had sex with both male and female partners over a 10-hour period.
Now, she was known for having quite a big labia, right? I read somewhere.
My outer labia was always very large.
How big were they? Is she tripping over them?
I was embarrassed.
To be fair, if you're having to tuck your labia in, too big, good luck to her. Get rid of them.
But after the surgery, I was doing Howard Stern, and I said, you know, why don't I encase the trimmings and encase them in a lucite sculpture and auction it off?
That's the worst thing I've ever heard of.
I got $50,000 for that. $50,000! Well, I'm tempted. Dennis Hoff, he's the owner of a very famous brothel in Reno, Nevada, and he actually bought the labia sculpture, and it sits in his porn museum.
We're reaching the premiership of plastic surgery devotees now. You certainly wouldn't want to bump into any of these down a dark alley.
That's a dude with breasts.
Catman, how ridiculous.
Priscilla Presley? Wow.
Back to our countdown and into the top 10 with two French TV star twin brothers. But how can you tell them apart? One has a hideously deformed face and the other has a hideously deformed face. It's easy.
The Bogdanov brothers, I love.
The Bogdanov brothers shot to fame in the late 70s, and they were a very handsome and quite enigmatic identical twins, and I must have been 5 at the time when they started their famous science fiction program. It was the first, actually, program of popular science and science fiction in the history of French television in the late 70s and throughout the 80s. They sort of disappeared from television until the late 90s again. And suddenly, as an adult, I saw the sort of heroes and champions of my youth looking very strange.
One of them's chin is massive. It's like a fist been put on the bottom of his face.
It looks like they've been sucking on a life lolly for about 15 years.
And it's bewildering because they look totally ageless.
They're 60? That's mental. Oh, 60. To be fair, they look all right, apart from the big chin.
It looks as if the architecture of their faces has been totally tampered with.
The first thing that strikes me when I look at the faces of these men is that they have, quote-unquote, a plastic look.
Apparently, they are not admitting to having had any plastic surgery.
If your chin's that big and that odd and your face is that weird, people know.
What is obvious to me when I look at these pictures is how taut and tight and prominent the mid-face area is. You can tell that there has been some process or combination of procedures that has accounted for that.
They sort of did it together. It's kind of perplexing.
I'm not surprised the Bogdanov brothers are on telly. I mean, if they were in this country and I was in charge of telly, they'd be on every day. They'll be like every programme, because it's just so funny to look at.
Next up, the First Lady of Graceland, who mistook her car mechanic for a plastic surgeon.
Priscilla Presley? Wow.
Her face has changed and changed and morphed and changed.
Admittedly, she's had some alterations. She's been tailored by a surgeon.
I always thought she was gorgeous.
She went to a doctor who's now doing time in jail.
The doctor didn't know what he was doing and injected industrial-strength silicone into her face.
Who would put engine oil in your face?
Very dangerous. Quick fix, great results. 5 years down the line, your cheeks are round your tits.
You would have thought that someone that rich would go to a reputable plastic surgeon, wouldn't you?
Well, I think it was really brave of Priscilla to go on Dancing with the Stars.
It looked like she was a cast member of Desperate Housewives.
She got marked down from the judges because she couldn't give the correct facial expressions.
She couldn't even look sad. They kicked her off. She just had to keep her face still. They're like, you're off.
At number 8, the comeback king Mickey Rourke, who still gets movie fans screaming, but only when they see his ravaged face.
Mickey Rourke, around the sort of 9.5 weeks period, was the kind of the quintessential Hollywood leading man. He had it all.
He used to be so handsome.
9.5 Weeks was the movie that made Mickey Rourke an international sex symbol.
It really put Mickey Rourke on the map. And then it just plummeted. He was partying all night. He was showing up late for work.
People didn't really know what was going on. He'd gone off the radar.
Mickey Rourke never wanted to be an actor. He only ever wanted to be a boxer. So he made one of the craziest decisions in showbiz. He retires from the film business and says, I'm going to be a professional fighter.
So Mickey Rourke had a bit of downtime in those intervening years between boxing and his comeback.
His face was mashed up. He looked like a circus freak from all the beatings he'd taken in the ring. He couldn't fight anymore on medical advice, so the only other thing he could do was act. So he had to get back into the acting business.
So then he decides, what can I do? I need to go to the plastic surgeon and get things sorted. He gets these inflatable dingy lips. He gets like cheek implants. He gets a hairline that doesn't recede. It creeps forward like it's playing a game of Grandma's Footsteps. It's weird.
In 2008, he's offered the title role in The Wrestler.
What a leap of faith from the casting directors to think, who can play a washed-up wrestler who makes a comeback and makes good for himself? Maybe it could be Mickey Rourke, who's just done the same thing.
It was such a great film. Mickey Rourke won a BAFTA for it. He was nominated for an Oscar. He won a string of other prizes. And there was so much love for Mickey Rourke.
His messed up face suited for the film, because he had to be a wrestler that's been battered and bruised. But it's only going to take you so far. He's never going to play Bond, is he?
Up next, it's former glamour model Jordan. How is it that not once during her countless operations did a single surgeon have the sense to sew her mouth shut?
Jordan is a good role model for women.
I don't think anyone thought Jordan was natural.
I can't believe I said that on camera.
Her boobs went huge, and then they went smaller and went massive again.
She was quite good for, like, if you like that sort of porny look, doesn't she? And let's face it, who doesn't like a bit of porn?
At school, Jordan was like, everyone thought, oh, she's well fit, blonde, like big boobs. And when you grow up, you're like, actually, she's pretty rough.
She was all over the place. She was very much in demand. And along with the demand came the boobs. She just knew that the bigger her boobs went, the more publicity she would get, and she was right.
Some of these girls really need the grid doing. And it's tits, 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 tits.
It's her new lip, which is sort of, it's just like a little curl up. It's just too much, the weird little curl.
She said that her kids have been laughing at her because they said that she looked like Daffy Duck. Dread to think what Jordan's going to look like in the future, but she's definitely going to be more inflated.
I think she'll probably end up looking like Pete Burns.
Ridiculous.
We've reached number 6 with Brian Zembic. He may look like a man, but he's definitely got breasts. He's like plastic surgery's answer to Susan Boyle.
So Brian Zembic is this crazy magician gambler guy that lives out in Vegas.
And he has bets with his friends, like ludicrous bets.
Apparently I've heard that this Brian bloke fancied this lesbian, and obviously she didn't fancy him because he was a bloke, and then he thought it'd be a good idea to get breast implants to impress her.
I thought, okay, well, I'm not going to pay for this boob job. I thought, well, how can I turn this into a bet? So I was with Sabatini and I was with Joe Thomas, another gambler, and I was talking about Mike, how could your girlfriend have a breast implant? Why would she have breast implants, you know? My last phrase to him was, if I had breasts as nice as hers, I swear to God, I would get more free dinners and more mileage out of them than she would get. And Mike, I knew he took the bait, okay? Svobo took the bait. He goes, yeah? Well, why don't you get some? Okay? I said, All right, so we start talking. How much for? He said, I don't know, 100,000.
Oh, well, now there's a challenge. Who could resist such a thing?
I think that's like not even really getting plastic surgery. That's just being a fool.
I had to keep the boobs in for a year until I got paid.
You know, you get drunk and have a bet. That's ridiculous, isn't it? Having ladies' breasts.
So then I went under and that's it, and then I had the boobs.
Are they hairy? Has he got a hairy chest? Oh no. As if I'd like him if they were bald, though. Oh, they're hairy. I'll leave them, thanks, Brian. Wax and come back. That'll be lovely.
That's a dude with breasts.
On the 14th day, I took them out, and they looked pretty damn nice. I got laid the first night. I took the Band-Aids off.
Darling, I have breasts.
I am, like, shocked what women think of. It's like, would I go out with a girl who had a dick on her forehead?
He probably carries 2 torches and goes, hi. All right.
What happened to the lesbian that he was trying to impress?
What happened was Jeannie, I had a relationship with Jeannie for about maybe a month and a half. She liked me, but she was really clearly just into girls. But she did get a kick out of it.
He's had them for over 10 years. 10 years.
Why he's kept them, I'm not quite sure, to tell you the truth.
The problem is I'm still getting money from these guys every year. I make money on the boobs that I keep them in as well. The problem is I'm so afraid now that they're gonna sag and they're gonna look like 2 wet socks with nickels in them or something. That's what I think about all the time. Boom!
This is it, the moment you've been waiting for. We're into the top 5. Plastic surgery just doesn't get any scarier than this. Brace yourself.
He was a beautiful freak. That is one scary bitch.
What's the option? Look like a hag or look fun?
In at 5, it's Dolly Parton, who's no stranger to the top 10. Her records sell in their millions. And let's face it, who isn't a fan of her tits? Hits.
You know, I grew up poor and ragged, just a simple country girl, and I wanted to be pretty more than anything in the world.
What hasn't Dolly had done? Let's face it.
Tight waist, big boobs, big hair.
She's always been very open about the fact that she's had cosmetic surgery. She hasn't tried to hide it.
Her boobs are ridiculously big. They are just enormous.
She wears tight cowboy shirts. They're bouncing all over the place, and you just think, how can that small frame have these big boobs? She's a worldwide brand. She's got clothing. She's merchandised every single possible market for herself.
Dollywood, her theme park, is one of the most successful tourist attractions in America.
I mean, you wouldn't create something called Dollywood unless Dolly was pretty well known.
Her boobs are her fortune, you know, as much as her voice. It's all part of the whole Dolly package. So she's been hoisting them up and belting it out for years now, and long may it continue.
I love one of her quotes where she said, "My spirit is too young and beautiful to be trapped in the body of an old, ugly woman."
You know what it's like. A nip here, a tuck there, and 12 years and $100,000 later, you've got the hideous face of a cat man. It's Dennis Abner.
He can't be right in the head.
Freakish.
Beyond psychiatric help. Catman, how ridiculous. That's self-mutilation. That's mental imbalance.
It looks like he had the upper lip done.
He has dentures that mimic tiger fangs.
It looks like the eyes were narrowed, so it had that almond-shaped eye a cat would have.
He's tattooed.
How they got those whiskers to stay in and grow like that is beyond me.
What was he thinking?
He believes that that is his totem animal. He has Native American heritage. And there is a tradition within the tribe that he derives his heritage from of mimicking the totem animal. So that is what he's doing, a sort of modern version of this ancient part of his heritage.
Do you go up to people and lick their wounds? I mean, if you're a cat, how far do you take it?
Someone should have stopped him at some point and gone, right, you need help. Let's take you to the nice doctor, you know, the one that helps you.
I can hardly contain my excitement. It's the top 3. And weighing in at 3, it's the action hero's mother who's been through a bit of a rocky patch.
Hello, my name's Jackie. Jackie!
That is one scary bitch.
It's ghastly.
She's about 100.
The fact that she's still breathing is an accomplishment. Jacqueline Stallone's greatest claim to fame is her son, Sylvester.
Anything that might squeezed out Sylvester Stallone and then make Rocky, she can do what she wants to her face.
Her face is just, it looks like an ankle.
When Jacqueline Stallone was a young woman, she was beautiful. She was the female equivalent of her handsome son.
Jackie Stallone can't smile. No wonder she looks so bloody miserable.
I love her because, I don't know if you remember when she went in Celebrity Big Brother, and she went in and then they went out someone,
hey, Jackie.
And then she went, yeah, Jackie. And her face was just amazing.
What's the option? Look like a hag or look fun?
Now it's become more acceptable to have botched surgery than just to be ugly.
Wow. I hope to look exactly like Jackie Stallone when I'm 103.
Just one place away from the top spot, it's the original Man in the Mirror. Why did people give Jacko such a hard time? So what if he was obsessed with plastic surgery? It's not as if he had a sleepover with little kids or anything.
If you think of the most famous person in the world, Michael Jackson.
Michael Jackson.
Michael Jackson.
And the most famous person in the world to have surgery, it's Michael Jackson and Michael Jackson.
I'm his biggest fan in the whole world. Hi. There you go. I've got his face tattooed on my arm.
He was a beautiful freak.
I mean, his life was artifice right from the start, because if you're sent out on stage at the age of 5 years old, you're never going to know what's real and what isn't really.
He was a superstar before he even hit puberty.
His daddy, Joe Jackson, always told him he wasn't good enough. You know, Michael told stories in his own autobiography about his dad hitting him with a belt and whipping him because his dancing wasn't good enough. And, you know, his appearance wasn't right.
So Michael Jackson's dad said he had this big fat nose that spread across his face. So Michael's obsession with his nose began. Michael Jackson's albums document his voyage through plastic surgery, because it starts off with Off the Wall, where he's this cute-looking guy with a big afro, and then he does Thriller, where he's had a few tweaks and he looks amazing. Then he goes too far, and the album's called Bad.
Michael Jackson is a sad story. It's the typical one where people like him go from doctor to doctor until they can get what they want.
By the time he came to film Smooth Criminal, he looked so different.
I loved him so much around that time. I just thought he was the most beautiful man on earth.
Michael Jackson was a complete circus freak. Who didn't love looking at the latest pictures of him? You know, the bandaged up nose, the nose having fallen off. Where's Michael's nose gone?
There's only so many nose jobs you can have before you start encountering problems that are irreversible.
You chop away at something long enough, it's going to fall over. It's like a tree. Timber, and that's what his nose did.
I think Michael Jackson wanted to be white, maybe.
I would say that he was trying to make his outside match his inside, and that he didn't feel like he was one of the rest of humankind.
Would he have been as famous had he not done what he did to his face? Yes, I think he would have been, but for better reasons.
Michael Jackson became somebody who cut off his nose to spite his face, literally.
But there was still a strange beauty about Michael Jackson.
Well, this is it. The big #1 at last. I bet you thought it couldn't get any worse than Jacko's disappearing nose. Well, it can. Meet Korean wannabe pop star Hang Mi-yoku.
Mi-yoku wasn't celebrity as such, but she wanted to be a singer.
Hang Mi-yoku looks wonderful. She's got a lovely, nice, thick set of hair, nice eyes. I know many a guy that wouldn't say no to Hang Mi-yoku.
She was led to believe that once she got her surgery done, she could become more beautiful and she could be successful as a singer. No surgeries actually satisfied her. In the end, she ran out of money and she just got hold of syringes and actually injected cooking oil to her face.
Who would think it would be a good idea to inject cooking oil in their own face?
Oh.
Fuck, it's a Cabbage Patch. Oh my God.
Oh my God.
Holy shit. Oh my God.
As a result, her face was completely blown up, 3 times as big as normal, size.
That's not allowed. She should be given charity.
The reaction of the public was extraordinary, and donated some money for her to have additional cosmetic surgery to help her recover her original face.
She don't look right still. She still looks a bit odd. She still looks a bit like Elephant Man's wife.
That is probably the worst, most shocking plastic surgery disaster I've ever seen in my life.
She has to look like that forever. That has to be number one.
She's the most shocking plastic surgery person I've seen.
But she actually admitted in one of her interviews that she still wanted to have another surgery to get her face back. So I don't know how long she can ignore that sort of voice. With one more perfect surgery, you can get your face back.
It's a lesson for everyone that she now has to look like that forever.
Click on screen for more videos of extraordinary humans.